Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll hear about the state of for-profit colleges and universities. We'll find out why Arizona's water supplies are in better shape than California's, and a new effort is launched today to help Valley businesses. That's all next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Corinthian Colleges, a for-profit institution, is closing 28 campuses, including 2 in Arizona. The closures come after the U.S. Department of Education fined Corinthian $30 million for misrepresentation. Dr. Barry Bozeman, the head of ASU's Center for Organization Research and Design, is here to talk about the closures and the current state of for-profit universities. Good to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
What happened to Corinthian colleges?
Well, they were fined for misrepresentation, as you mentioned. The fines were rather substantial. They were already hovering on the brink of financial collapse, and I think it just kind of put them over the edge. So basically what happened is some bad business practices paid off in the short run, but certainly not in the long run.
As far as misrepresentation, what does that mean?
Well, they were making claims about, particularly the placement of their students, that were not just generally deceptive, they're absolutely false claims. So for example, the government report cited 900 cases of instances where they had made claims about employment that were not true, including for some people who had not even matriculated as yet, were listed as employed. And of course, one of the classic cases, they had an individual who was listed as having an accounting professional job, who was actually working as a service worker in Taco Bell. So then those kind of anecdotal cases, as well as some statistics about people's placements, were completely wrong and got them in a lot of trouble.
What about grades and attendance records and those sorts of things?
Well, their bookkeeping was actually not their strong suit, generally speaking.
Okay, and you mentioned cash shortages as well. There were fraud allegations, I understand.
That's right, yeah.
Is this unusual for this? I mean, we're going to get into what for-profit colleges are in general, but this sounds somewhat unusual, isn't it?
I hope so. Of course, a lot of times we don't know a great deal about for-profits because until fairly recently they haven't been particularly transparent. Of course, that's true of a lot of businesses, but in some cases it's better to have a little closer record keeping and visibility and transparency with colleges and universities, because they obviously have a clientele that's in some respects young and vulnerable and not particularly knowledgeable about the operations of the enterprise. And so one of the good effects is that maybe we'll have a little bit more transparency in general.
So let's talk about how for-profit colleges and universities work. What's the business model here?
Okay, so the first thing to understand, as far as the kinds of goods and services they deliver, there's quite a bit of diversity, but the business model is not that diverse. For the most part, the lifeblood of for-profit colleges is students' tuition, purchase tuition, and in most cases that comes primarily from government loans. So for example, in the case of Corinthian, there was more than $1 billion, I think it was about $1.5 billion of government loans outstanding to pay their tuition. And so the interesting thing is we think of these for-profit universities as being very much market-driven, but like a lot of market-based organizations, they're also very dependent on government. In fact, the dependence on government is higher than most state universities. I think that will begin to change, but that's the part of the business model that's pretty common. The actual goods and services are different, but dependence on tuition. Of course, as you know, most traditional universities, particularly large ones, tuition is very important, but it's only part of the answer. At Arizona State, for example, it's a minority of our expenditures are tuition-based, and that's true of most universities nowadays.
As far as the for-profit colleges are concerned, are the students there getting good educations?
They are in some cases they're not. And so in part, the question is compared to what? So in some cases, they're getting an education that would be comparable to what you would receive at some community colleges, but usually at a much higher fee. There are a few cases, not very many, where I think they're getting an education that's kind of in a niche program that maybe isn't really staffed as well in traditional universities, and people are getting university education of the sort that they wouldn't easily get. There's not many examples, but there are some. But in the vast majority of cases, in my opinion, it is better to get a better education, more productive education, from a better trained faculty somewhere else for less money.
True or false, they spend less per student on instruction than they get from federal aid. True?
That's true, right, yeah.
That seems a little concerning.
It is. In fact, their expenditures per student tend to be much lower than traditional universities. The expenditures on marketing and their expenditures on student acquisition tend to be very much higher, and they tend to be much more innovative in the ways that they do that as well. Spend a lot of money on recruiters, and so if you look at, I mean, every university has recruiters, but if you look at the proportion of money going into recruiters and for-profits, it's usually much higher.
So with that in mind, and it's always amazed me when you hear about for-profit universities and colleges, the leader's not a president, he's the CEO, which says, that speaks volumes there. Okay, are these places inherently bad?
No, no. I think in many cases we have very significant concerns about the productivity and sometimes even the ethics of for-profit colleges, but they're not inherently bad. Some of them are doing useful things. Some of them are being tainted by the same brush that the bad characters are being tainted with, and that's unfortunate. So there's nothing inherently bad about them any more than there is any other business. It's just that right now we're in a position where they've been able to take advantage of limited regulation, limited oversight, limited information being provided to people, and so we have probably a lot more bad actors and just a lot worse business than we would anticipate in most fields. But there's certainly room for them. I hope there is, because many of them are capable of doing things that would be useful and have social value, and I think that they will. But they're going to be changing a great deal in the next couple of years. Many of them are not going to be in business, and the ones who are going to be doing some different things than they are now.
Is that because of increased oversight, regulation, information, as you mentioned?
I think it's all of those things taken together because of the publicity that's been going on with some of the investigations, like, for example, the congressional investigation in 2012 was a landmark. Many state commissions have been investigating for-profits. And so I think the tide has turned so that the ability to operate in kind of a vacuum is actually very much on the decline. I think what we're going to see, though, is that some of them will actually turn out to be healthy contributors, and some cases it will require reforms, but there's still a role for them to play.
All right. Interesting stuff. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
California recently implemented mandatory water restrictions, a move that has many in Arizona wondering what's next and if we are next. Here now are Central Arizona Project General Manager David Modier and Arizona Department of Water Resources Director Tom Bushatsky. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
The status of Arizona's water supplies.
I think Arizona's water supply is in a very good state right now. We've done a lot of planning over the years with the state, Tom's department, and Central Arizona Project, and the Arizona Water Bank to take water that wasn't being utilized very much in the 90s and begin storing that, for the future, and water laws that were enacted many years ago have borne fruit in reducing water use in Arizona back to the days of the 1950s, even though population has increased, I don't know how many fold, but a lot. So I think our water system is in good stead right now for the short term.
Good stead for the short term. Doesn't look that way in California. How do we compare? What's going on here?
So I think David said it pretty well. We've created these institutions, and we've known for years that a shortage potentially was going to come, and we've become more resilient on surface water supplies, Colorado River water supplies. So we've created institutions that will allow us to deal with the point in time when the shortages come. Our conservation programs are exemplary in the Colorado River Basin. We have the most efficient agricultural uses in the CAP service area and in the Yuma area of anywhere in the basin. So the municipal conservation requirements that the 1980 Groundwater Management Code have created has also made us, put us in a position where our supply and demand, the difference between those two things is pretty large. And so we are looking forward to, in the near term, not having the issues that California is having right now.
And yet, we hear about Lake Mead, we hear about Lake Powell, the Mead, the water levels there, historic lows. I mean, they're very close to trigger levels. Certainly something's going to affect Arizona, is it not?
Well, it will certainly affect Arizona. We are moving in the direction of a shortage being declared by the Secretary of the Interior. The reality is we've been in drought for over 15 years now. This year has been a very bad year in terms of snowpack in the Colorado River Basin. It's clear that we're rapidly approaching a shortage, probably likely in 2017, but we are prepared for it, and it's not going to throw Arizona into a crisis. We have expected a shortage to be declared at some point in time, and we have prepared our water supplies for that resiliency to deal with it in the first areas of a shortage.
In terms of preparing the water supplies, we've heard about water banking, progressive water policies and these sorts of things, but just in terms of nuts and bolts and the water on the ground, if you will, where is that water going to come from?
So water out in the future is going to come from various places. One is there's still some more conservation potential, and we can stretch our supplies that way. We are a leader in the United States in terms of reclaimed water reuse. That will increase over time. That will increase for non-potable uses, but eventually indirect potable use, and eventually have a discussion of direct potable reuse. We're also looking at other ways to augment our water supplies. Weather modification, better known as cloud seeding, has been proven in a study in Wyoming to work, so we're looking at that. We're looking at potential desalination. We've been in talks with Mexico to set up a framework for that. That could potentially resolve problems not only on Colorado River, but in other parts of the state of Arizona. So it's going to be a whole menu of things, probably not any one huge water project like the CAP, but cobbling together a bunch of smaller type of projects to make us more resilient as we move out into the future.
Building sustainability in the Colorado River water, in that flow, are there new ideas out there? Are things being done now to handle what's going to happen here in the next few years?
There are things being done now. There is a great deal of cooperative effort among the 7 basin states and certainly in the 3 lower basin states, Nevada, California, and Arizona. We're working cooperatively to generate ideas to save water, leave water behind the dam, and keep Lake Mead at a better elevation. We've started programs that include things like dry year fallowing with cooperative efforts with agriculture. California's been doing that for quite a while. We have worked out some ideas with our Central Arizona agricultural users to leave water in Lake Mead and help them acquire through financing other water sources in the interim period. So there are a lot of things that are being done with the cooperation of all the states, trying to figure out ways that we can deal with this issue in the short term. The longer term is more what Tom talked about. In the near term, we need to all work together to keep the river healthy.
Leaving water in Lake Mead, it sounds like an unusual question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Does that count when the water level drops? In other words, realistically, that water would have been gone. Did they continue to measure it even though we've left some of it there? I mean, it's basically conservation is rewarded then?
but it's rewarded by keeping the level of the Lake Mead higher and not going into shortage levels as quickly as it would have otherwise. We have set a goal with the states, the regulatory agencies like Tom's department and all, to try to leave about 750,000 acre-foot in Lake Mead over the next 2 years. We're making progress in that, and if we are successful at that, we can raise the level of water or keep the level about 10 to 12 feet higher than it is presently.
What is the impact of the California crisis on Arizona water policy?
Well, I think that we have done good things in the policy field, but it just hammers home the point that you have to stay ahead of the curve and that we need to continue to develop our policies and be adaptive as kind of the conditions change moving forward. I think that is the main lesson we can learn from California, that we do not want to be in the crisis that they are in now, and we are going to have to make some hard choices moving forward to ensure that that's not going to happen.
What did they do or not do that we did or didn't do?
So, and I think we talked already about some of the institutions we created. Our 1980 Groundwater Management Act really was philosophically about keeping our groundwater in the ground rather than for growth, saving it for times when we had a shortage. California only recently, in the last year, passed a Groundwater Act, so they have different problems with the depletion of groundwater. So those types of things are things we did that they didn't do. Some of their issues, and their issues aren't really Colorado River issues, they're issues with the water that originates in the Sierra Nevadas internally to their state. They counted more on annual rainfall or snowpack to refill those reservoirs every year. Our philosophy with entities like Salt River Project has been to look at kind of a 10-year planning horizon to conjunctively use their surface water and groundwater and parse that out to protect against the shortages in the surface water supply. So we are blessed with large volumes of groundwater that we've protected for this purpose, and we can conjunctively use that in a way that creates a lot more resiliency for our state than they're able to do in California.
And yet, last question here, and yet I will get email just from this program saying that these guys are nuts. I mean, Arizona is in a water crisis. We must do something serious, drastic, now. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think I would respond to that saying that's absolutely not the case. We are not in a crisis. And everything that we have said in answering your questions this evening is actual fact. We are very different than California. We have done a better job of planning. Granted, the circumstances in California are very different than they are in Arizona. And the drought in California is not related to Southern California and its Colorado River water uses and all. It's really, as Tom said, it's related to the annual snowpack and all that feeds their reservoirs, and they've been hammered by environmental decisions that have reduced the amount of water that's available for municipal and industrial use, and even for agriculture. So circumstances are very different over there. We've done a great job of planning here in Arizona and doing and taking actions that will help us weather a good portion of the drought. We can't control Mother Nature. If the drought goes on for many more years, certainly there's going to be a bigger impact to Arizona than we can handle with what we're doing right now. And Tom mentioned some of the things that we feel that we can do in the future.
All right. It's good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Beside Highway 191 near Clifton is a memorial to 1880s Arizona law and order. Then, as now, the Clifton Cliff Jail is a two-room hole, blasted from solid rock and fitted with iron bars paid for by the owners of Clifton's first copper mine. Local tradition says the jail's first unwilling guest was the local stonemason hired to build it. When he finished the jail, the mason decided to celebrate at Clifton's Hovey Dance Hall, where he downed snakehead whiskey and shot up the place. The dance hall belonged to the deputy sheriff, who rewarded his rowdy patron with a compulsory stay in his own creation. In 1906, a flash flood filled the ground-level Bastille with water and mud, forcing the rescue of the prisoners by rope and the jail's closure. Today, it's dry, and visitors are welcome to take an eerie step down and back into Arizona history.
The Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce today launched Phoenix Forward, an initiative to help grow businesses that are already here. Joining us now is Todd Sanders, President and CEO of the Chamber, and Jennifer Meller, the Chamber's Vice President of Economic Development. Good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Give me a better definition of Phoenix Forward.
Well, really, it boils down to one thing. It boils down to the number 80, and specifically 80%. 80% of new jobs in our community are created by existing businesses, and that's why we're launching Phoenix Forward today.
So why is this program needed? Aren't these businesses, are they not getting the help they need?
Well, there is work being done. Both the City of Phoenix, the ACA are instrumental in going out and meeting with these businesses and doing some of this work. So our efforts are really to complement on some of the work that's being done already.
And what are some of your efforts?
So we have a full team on board. We have a staff of 5 that's completely focused on this economic development initiative. 2 of those folks are going out and working with City, working with the ACA to go out and conduct these visits, meet with businesses, talk to them, find out what are some of their issues, what are some of the trends that are occurring within those businesses, and then also working to connect them to resources. So if they have a workforce issue, for example, connecting them to those resources. On the other side, we also have industry leadership councils, which makes us a little bit unique in that it's industry-led. So we have the councils are made up of industry leaders from the community that are looking at some of the data that's coming in from these visits and taking a deep look to see how can they make adjustments for the industry.
When visiting these businesses, what are some of the issues and trends that you guys are hearing out?
Well, some of the early indicators revolve around exactly what Jennifer talked about, and that's workforce. And I think we want to take a different approach to this kind of work. I think for a long time we were satisfied with admiring the problem. And I think in this case what we want to do is to start saying, all right, how do we line up the needs of business with the K-12 system and perhaps the community colleges to start to create certification programs for some of these kids as they come out to actually have opportunities and to fill the need for some of these businesses. At the end of the day, that's true economic development work, but you also have, I think, a substantial impact on the community. And when I think about my son and you know, as he enters in the workforce and what our community should look like, that's the kind of work I think we need to be doing.
It sounds a little bit like advocacy, a little bit like trying to influence public policy. Is that what's going on here?
Some of that. It's definitely going to be, we'll focus on that. Certainly the education side of that's going to be key, but I think there's going to be things that we can do outside of the realm of public policy that will move the needle today, and we're going to be very metric driven. So I think at the end of the day, our goal is to find out what we can do outside of policy to move that with our partners, and then with on the policy side with the city and with the state, take an active role there.
Metric-driven sounds interesting. Sounds like lots of data out there, maybe available for the taking. Has it not been available for a while, and how come no one's been taking it?
The data's out there, it's available. What we're looking to do is aggregate it. So working with the city and the Commerce Authority to aggregate that data so that we can make better informed decisions. And I think that's where the opportunity lies. The next step will be how do we regionalize this effort? And so now it's not only information that's coming from the city and the chamber, but from other areas within our community as well, and other cities.
Indeed. And I noticed that one of the goals is to, quote, foster a pro-business environment, to, quote, create quality jobs, robust business retention. What does all that mean?
It's all about jobs.
Yeah,
right?
it basically is, right? But
Absolutely.
it's about certain kinds of jobs, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's about high quality, high paying jobs.
And so how do you get, what do you do? How do you get there? How do you cross that bridge?
Well, part of that is really understanding what the market looks like and where we excel. So if you think about the bio side and you think about TGen, we have, I think, a small part of the bio market, but a very important part. And how do we grow that? And I think the healthcare, we look at the healthcare industry, a lot of opportunity there to really grow high wage, high quality jobs. But I think it's going to be incumbent upon us to really understand the market and to do it in a way that's not siloed, where we can aggregate data, understand what this market looks like, and then push in those areas to create those jobs in this community.
And capital investment, increasing that, I'm sure, is a major factor.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the heavy objectives for the bioscience sector in particular, looking at how do we increase venture capital that's coming into the bioscience industry in particular. But as we're looking at metrics and measurement, it will be looking at 2 things. One is job creation, and the other will be capital investment within the community.
And is the will out there to proceed with this? I mean, a lot of folks make a lot of noise, but when you know.
Well, we really want to take a comprehensive approach to this. When I think about the great work that's being done by, for instance, by GPEC and the ACA in terms of some of the attraction, this complements that. I think there is a willingness there. Beyond that, what Jennifer mentioned, let's regionalize this. What we're planning to do with this by next year is give it away. I want to give it away to 5 or 6 or 10 organizations around the county and do this together and really make this an all hands on deck effort.
All right, we'll see how it goes. Good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
for having
you.
us.
Thursday on Arizona Horizon, Attorney General Mark Brnovich will join us in studio, and we'll learn about a new program that will offer medical services to residents at a downtown Phoenix landmark. That's on the next Arizona Horizon. That's it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.